iPad Air 2 finished in silver and an iPad 5th generation finished in space gray. So they both have 9.7-inch Retina displays. The iPad Air 2 has an A8X chip while the iPad 5th gen has an A9 chip. Both have 8 megapixel wide cameras for the rear and 1.2 megapixel FaceTime HD cameras on the front. They both have the Lightning connector, and if you opted for the cellular model, they will both support 4G LTE connectivity. This is a Wi-Fi only model, this is a Wi-Fi and cellular model. They don't have compatibility with any generation of the Apple Pencil unfortunately, but they do have compatibility with Bluetooth keyboards. Storage options for the iPad Air 2 were 16, 64 and 128 gigs, while the iPad 5th gen had 32 and 128 gig configs only. This is a 32 gig, this is a 64 gig configuration. In terms of dimensions, iPad 5th gen is more closely in line with the iPad Air 1. So compared to the iPad Air 2, it is thicker and heavier. But the height of 240mm and the width of 169mm and a half is the same between the two. So iPad Air 2 is 6.1mm deep, iPad 5th gen and iPad Air 1 is 7.5mm deep. The weight on the iPad Air 2 is 437 grams for Wi-Fi only model, 444 grams for the Wi-Fi plus cellular model. It is an additional 32 grams going from Wi-Fi iPad Air 2 to Wi-Fi iPad 5th gen to 469 grams, an additional 34 grams going from 444 grams to 478 grams with the iPad 5th gen. Display, they both have Retina displays at 60Hz, 9.7-inch diagonal displays with LED backlit and multi-touch technology and IPS technology. Resolution 2048 by 1536 at 264 ppi. The iPad Air 2 can only go up to 400 nits, while the iPad Air 5th gen can go up to 500 nits and it's visibly more brighter. They're both SDR brightness ratings. They both have fingerprint resistant coating. The iPad Air 2 has additionally a fully laminated display and anti-reflective coating. The gap between the panel and the display is more than with a fully laminated display, but the advantage is that you can replace just the glass only rather than the whole glass plus digitizer plus panel. They're both rated for up to 10 hours of surfing the web on Wi-Fi, watching videos or listening to music. Both rated up to 9 hours of surfing the web using a mobile data network, and they both can be charged via USB to a computer system or power adapter. Back to the cameras, they have digital zoom for up to 5 times as well as an f2.4 aperture. Recording is limited to just 30 FPS at 1080p with 3 times digital video zoom. Slow motion video is supported at 720p at 120 frames per second, as well as time-lapse video is a supported feature as well. And the iPad 5th gen has Retina flash for True Tone, whereas the iPad Air 2 does not have flash for the front-facing camera. Additionally, there is cinematic video stabilization for the iPad 5th gen, which is lacking on the iPad Air 2. They both have 2 speakers at the bottom. They both have Touch ID. In terms of network connectivity, iPad Air 2 has Wi-Fi 5 up to 866 MHz, same on the 5th gen. They both have MIMO compatibility, but it's Bluetooth 4.0 on the iPad Air 2, Bluetooth 4.2 on the iPad 5th gen. But in terms of cellular, they both have GSM H, CDMA, EV, DO, Rev A and Rev B, UMTS, HSPA, HSPA Plus, DC, HSPA, LTE up to 20 bands on the iPad Air 2, but up to 21 bands on the 5th gen, with speeds up to 150 megabits for both GPS, GNSS, and Wi-Fi calling capabilities, with remark being that a data plan is required. They both take nano SIM if you have the cellular model, no eSIM compatibility. This is way before eSIM existed. And they both have 3-axis gyros, accelerometers, ambient light sensor, and barometers. Now let's take a look at the physicality. There is an additional mic on the iPad Air 2 over there that is not on the iPad 5th gen. And you can see that the button is also slightly in a different position. There is the SIM slot for the cellular 5th gen speaker. There's less holes drilled for speakers on the 5th gen, and each individual hole is also of a larger diameter. On this side, there isn't much changes. Power button is also slightly shifted, and also, the black antenna band is for the cellular model. Headphone jack in similar position. If you take a look at the camera, there's a microphone next to the camera on the iPad Air 2, but none on the iPad 5th gen. Instead, the iPad 5th gen has the microphone in the center, not present on the iPad Air 2. First-party cases that are very precisionally cut, they don't support these two models because of the varying differences I just highlighted. To save on tooling costs and mold costs, some cases are compatible between the two, despite the thickness difference. And instead, they'll just have differences in the cutout for the varying differences. So you can see the speaker, it's like to the edge. You can see that there's an excess cutout here for the power button, as well as the hole there for a microphone. Camera slot is, perfect. This particular case is perfect for the iPad Air 2. And as you can see, there's also nothing behind both of these holes. Let's swap this case to accommodate the other iPad instead. Both holes now are populated with microphones. The camera is centered within this hole and there's no microphone around the camera. There's nothing behind this hole. Button fills out the slot differently.